Hello, assalamu alaikum, and welcome to a brand new episode of Shosha. And yes, this is Alamdar Khan, and obviously what you know, कि usually होता है हमारे शो में, we try to make sure that we have inspirational stories in terms of what's happening all across the globe. Not only that, हमारी कोशिश ये होती है कि आपको ऐसे individuals से मुलाकात करवाएं that can actually make you guys feel inspired and maybe look forward to something that would come up your way. So I have a very special guest with me, and I decided to have somebody who's definitely not from Pakistan, but I think she's been living here in Pakistan for quite a while, so she is pretty much Pakistani. So nonetheless, I have with me Isabel. Isabel, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. Thanks.
Pleasure. So Isabel, initiation would start from the fact that you are basically from Germany. So I would want the audience to come up to an idea, because you've lived in Islamabad and Pakistan for so long. I just want everyone else to know your experience to begin with, but not only that, who is Isabel to begin with?
I know you would ask this.
Yes, because I prepared her anyway, so we'd start from there. So yeah.
So I think I'm here in my function as being German,
Right.
but I think otherwise I'm honestly quite a normal person. I think with
it's
a
absolutely fine.
normal life,
Yes,
with
so
a daily
we need more
routine.
definition of the normal side. So yeah, I mean, like, besides the German part and the Pakistani part, so would love to know more about your journey, how it all started, you as a child to where you are right now. So yeah.
No, I also grew up very normal. I'm from a small village, very normal family, very normal background. I went to school, I went to university.
Right.
I was always wanting to go abroad, to travel a lot, to experience a lot, and then I got the chance to work in development cooperation, and I worked in different countries in South Asia until
Right.
I first time came to Pakistan. I was in 2014 on an assignment. Then I moved in another country. Then I came back, moved, came back, and that continued. And then. It was Pakistan who
That actually
kept me staying.
Awesome. So good to hear that. So would love to know more about, because when you're hopping, so I'm sure you would be, back in the times initially when you would be hopping, you'd be homesick, right?
Yes, I think you get homesick.
Initially.
Yes.
So now
No, I think you still get homesick. I think everybody still gets homesick. No, you miss your environment, you miss your own people, you miss your habits, maybe you miss the nature from home, but that also goes away, no? I
But
think
no way, we've brought Islamabad, the weather.
Exactly. You
Germany is
nicely arranged grey weather,
Awesome,
feeling
awesome.
very much at home today.
So tell me about, your family. Did you have ever had a vision in terms of stepping into, the development sector and maybe just, jumping from one country to another, and eventually concluding to where you are right now?
Growing up in a village, I always found it interesting to see different people. I always found it interesting, of course, it's a small village, everybody looks the same, everybody does the same. And as soon as somebody from another country was there, I found it very interesting. I always wanted to be friends as a kid. I really found it interesting. I really like to know how other people live, what they eat, how they experience life. And I think that continued. For example, I studied economic geography.
Right.
So which relates a lot to what's happening in other countries and other
Right.
cultures. So I always found it interesting to really experience that, and not only through a holiday. I mean, you get a certain
I
picture
understand. You have to
in
be
a
there to-
holiday, and I find it. I think it's a big gift. It's a big chance if you can do this. If you can see other places.
And yeah, interacting with different culture and different people. I think that's pretty interesting. So tell us more about the countries that you've been to. I mean, I would like to know more that because
I've been working long time in Sri Lanka, and I've been also working in Myanmar.
Myanmar,
longer
yeah,
periods.
absolutely.
Yeah, so it's mainly South Asia. I've been working.
So you're pretty much more devoted to work here at this part. So how long you've been in Pakistan? Since 2014.
It was the first time that I came here in 2014 on an assignment. Again, I moved out, I came back on an assignment, I moved out, I came back on an assignment, I changed the jobs, and I'm here since, sometimes I feel I'm here since 100 years, sometimes I feel I'm here since yesterday. So it's yeah.
So
it's a journey.
So but I think home is where your heart is, because I think whenever you would go back to Germany, don't you miss Pakistan?
I miss Pakistan. As you say, home is where the heart is.
Yes, you do.
Next to that I found a job, I found love.
Yeah.
And of course, this is something which makes this my home and my heart here
Awesome,
as well.
awesome. So I would love to hear more about the fact that, finding two different cultures connecting on different levels from emotional to spiritual to name it and it's there. So how does it, because I have a lot of friends who've been wedded into German culture, I'm sure you would have heard a lot about that too. So how do you find two different cultures of different societies blending, because it is different. Yeah, it is. So how do you find that? Because like you said that it's a different ball game for you as well, because you always wanted to explore more of people you didn't know about. So how do you find the love journey and the married life while being here in Pakistan?
I don't know if it's actually so much different. I mean, I'm still who I am. I'm still where I come from. So I think on a personal level, I think it doesn't matter if this is in Germany or if this is in Brazil or if it's in Pakistan, to be honest. No, I think on a personal life level, this is what you make on your own. But what you experience maybe outside your personal life is, I think, very different. Now, how I move here in society or how I'm getting treated extremely well. Right. This might be very different in Germany, no?
Right.
Where I'm one of everybody. And of course, I remain special as a foreigner, no? Which has advantages, which has disadvantages. And I think this is also the way I experience the culture here. No? More on an... I always feel I feel part of the culture at home, with the family, with the friends.
Right.
When I'm a bit outside from home, I still feel I could also be a tourist. No? I'm still somebody out of it. Both ways are extremely exciting and enriching and challenging, but it makes it interesting. It makes it super interesting.
I think like you said that it's more of a curiosity to connect two different cultures.
Yeah.
So how is your spouse interacted with in Germany when he goes there? Because that's also going to be another story. Because when you are being treated in a different ball game while living in Pakistan, I'm sure he would have a different experience too.
That would be the question to him.
But I'm sure you being the spouse, and you guys would talk about it. But just
I also think it's of course it's different. No, sometimes you feel as part of the whole thing, and sometimes you feel out of it. No, I think if we hang out with friends and family, he might feel part of it. If we're going to a supermarket and we need to put in light speed our goods on the counter, that might be different. No?
Right.
I think it's really the way the way a culture shows in daily life and the way the people treat you. As long as you're treated nicely,
kindness,
welcoming, I think is you feel there, you feel part of it, and you feel welcomed. And I think that this is something I always felt here. I always felt welcome. I never felt that I'm disturbing here, or I never felt unsafe also. I never had this feeling in Pakistan.
So that is super interesting.
Wherever I moved, no, and also during traveling a bit, I never had the feeling that people don't like that I'm here. Maybe this is actually different in Germany. I would assume people might experience that different in Germany. Yeah.
So how do you see yourself and the whole love for Pakistan and the journey? How do you see yourself in maybe 5 years or 10 years down the lane?
I don't know. No, maybe it also changes daily. Sometimes I badly want to go back, eat German bread.
All right.
And then I'm also thinking that the life I can have here, why do I need to go back to good old bureaucratic Germany?
Right.
No, I think it's really changing. Of course, as you said before, sometimes you're homesick, sometimes you like to be curious. And it's really it's changing. I would not want to make a decision, honestly, where
do you see
I shall be.
Because I personally think, Isabel, when we're born, we do not intend to be born in any country, or any part of the world. But I think choosing wisely where you feel at heart and at home is the place that you can call home, right?
Yeah. And maybe you don't even have to choose. Maybe I'm in the very lucky position of having two homes.
Yeah, maybe that's 100%. Okay, so in terms of differentiation, the amount of time that you spend in Pakistan, how much have you seen Pakistan evolve in terms of interacting with, because right now there's a big transition in maybe knowledge and social media and everything, what's happening all across the globe anyways. But I'm sure you would have seen a lot of transition, not only on an infrastructure perspective, but overall. So I just wanted to see how much do you, because if you came in Pakistan back in 2014 the first time, so right now it's 2026. So what difference do you feel here now?
I think it also depends a lot on the exposure you get. No, the longer you're here, the more exposure you get. But I see a lot of changes on how people interact on in ways also of entertainment, for example. When I was here 2014, thinking about going out or having a concert or something, it was not known to me.
Right.
Maybe it was there, it was not known to me.
Yeah.
Then I came back on time, I think it was 2019, 20, I can't remember, before COVID. And then suddenly there were all these festivals, the food festival here, and a lot of people went out.
Yes, we die for food anyways.
and all these things, and this is something I didn't know before. And I also, what you said also maybe with social media, I see a lot of exchange happening or voices coming up and people speaking different topics coming up. I see a lot of, for example, interest in climate change. I find this super interesting.
Right. Awareness, a lot of awareness.
And maybe related to disasters, but there are a lot of people talking about climate change and demand something for Pakistan. I find this super interesting,
So in terms of how things are flowing, I think it's pacing up, and I think we need to keep and stay on track. But I think, you're absolutely right, because earlier it wasn't the case, but I think now slowly and gradually people are using their heads more to understand that climate change exists. And anyways, are there any last messages for all those people in Germany and people in Pakistan?
For the people in Germany, come to Pakistan. Visit Pakistan. Eat the food, drink the tea, wear the clothes. Come to Pakistan and enjoy here. For the people in Pakistan, come to Germany if you can.
Yeah, please do. Well, thank you very much, Isabel, for being a part of the show. It was lovely speaking to you. Well, guys, this was Isabel, and yes, she did mention all that jazz in terms of Pakistan. Not only that, she also talked more about Germany as well, and her love life and how things are for her. If you have any story, anything you want to talk about, and please leave your comments, and would love to definitely hear you guys out. Till then, take good care of yourselves. Thank you, Isabel, again.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
I love this.